Earlier, I spoke to Michael O'Hanlon, Senior Fellow with the Brookings Institution and Research Director of its Foreign Policy Program. I asked him what is known about the Taliban's new leader.
You know, I'm not persuaded that we know enough to really claim we can specify his characteristics. I think we know a little bit more, at least I know a little more, about the rest of the team and the overall deputy relationships to this new leader, the Haqqani representative, the son of the former leader, Mullah Omar. Those individuals remain in their key positions. This looks like a consensus decision. It looks like a decision that preserves most of the previous lines of authority. So he strikes me as a person coming out of an entity, out of a group that already sort of knew its mind, didn't want big change, didn't want to use the death of the mullah who was just killed as an opportunity for a big new re-examination of what their priorities would be, but rather wanted to choose somebody that everyone could agree on.
Michael, two issues here. One, the peace talks, and the other, recent attacks by the Taliban. Do you expect that to continue? And what about those peace negotiations?
Well, you know, the only thing that I believe is really better about the peace negotiation process than was the situation before is the role of China. It's wonderful to see China and the United States working together on this general project. It's important to both our countries. There's no reason why we have to view this theater as competitive, even if we have some differences, let's say, in the Western Pacific. Unfortunately, that's about the only thing I can say that's really improved in the prospects for peace, because I don't see any greater willingness by the Taliban to compromise or to relent in some of their more extremist goals. And I don't see any great effectiveness by the Pakistani state in pressuring the Afghan Taliban to compromise. So I think the prospects for peace were poor before the death of the mullah, and they're still poor now.
And finally, Michael, one last question. When Mullah Mansour died last week, was killed in the drone strike last week, we found Taliban confirmed the news days later. But when Mullah Omar was killed, the Taliban did not confirm that news until nearly 2 years later. What do you make of that?
Well, my guess is that Mullah Omar was seen as such an iconic figure, such an inspirational leader. Then all of a sudden, Mullah Omar dies, and they were worried about losing momentum, so they chose to keep it quiet. Also, it may have taken them a while, of course, to figure out who would replace him. And Mullah Mansour needed to do some work in the organization to get the majority of the Taliban behind him. So that is my best guess as to why they couldn't let it go with Mullah Omar. In this case, we pretty much told the world what had happened. We were behind it. We did it. We had information about it that we were already unveiling publicly, even if we weren't 100% sure about his death. And moreover, they had been through this leadership transition where they had created essentially a succession strategy. They had a leadership team that could function even if any one of them was lost. And so maybe they saw it as an opportunity to project their confidence that in this case, they could quickly get back on their feet and not really miss a beat.
If you like what you just saw, follow us on social media and visit our website, CCTV-America.com.